Welcome to the show, Business Media Exposure. Today we have got a brilliant guest. Carmela Pengelly is a former journalist who switched careers into eating and eating healthily. So we are going to have a lot of fun chatting to Carmela today. It's great to have you on the show because it's going to be really fascinating to find out from you. It's such a big switch going from writing for pharmaceutical companies within trade magazines and other publications to the health and wellness industry by you being on the other side of the fence, dishing out. Glad I like that pun. not only about diets, but your blogs are full of recipes and lots of amazing information, and aside from nutrition, and I did see one about bees.
Yes. So it's vegan honey vegan.
So how did you make that switch? What caused you to make that switch?
Yes, it was quite a big difference, and I did enjoy being a journalist, but what happened was that I actually got cancer myself, and it started to make me question, like, what am I doing wrong? Why have I got this disease? And then I just kind of went down this whole field into all the nutrition side and realised how powerful that is, like what you're eating. It really is like huge. It's a real medicine, in fact, and I just wanted to spread that to other people and really help them. It's just like, it's very, very fulfilling, and I really enjoy just coming up with different recipes, working with individuals and getting them on board. They suddenly start to get really enthusiastic about what they're eating, and they see results, they start to feel better, and in the end they're actually giving me recipes and telling me what they've done, and it's just really exciting and rewarding.
So did you find that by switching your diet and bringing other balancing areas into your lifestyle, that it did make a big difference to your health?
Oh, hugely, yes. I started to do distance running, so I used to run marathons and do Ironman, not one mistake, sorry. I used to run marathons and triathlons. And I would never have contemplated any of that before I got sick and before I started to really look after myself properly. And I really have never felt better. Like, I'm in my 50s now, I feel so much better than I did in my 40s. I've got a lot more energy and enthusiasm for life. And yeah, it's just fantastic.
So that health scare was really, in one way, it was a positive outlook for you. Now, I noticed as well that what you do, you don't centre completely on general health and wellness. You actually specialise in certain areas, don't you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So I do sometimes help people with general health, but I do like to specialise, and I work in quite a niche market, which is helping people with chronic digestive disorders, and very specifically with a disorder called SIBO, which stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And it's something most people haven't heard of, but in fact they've found with research around 90% of people with IBS actually have this condition called SIBO, which, if you know you've got it, it's very treatable and people can get better.
And IBS, of course, is irritable bowel syndrome, isn't it?
Yes, and it's very, very common.
Can you cure that with the food that you eat? Is that what you're saying?
With the right diet and natural antimicrobials, the majority of people do get better. Yes.
And also, I found that was very interesting because a lot of teenagers go down this path. It's where they want to switch their diet and their dinner that mums prepare for them, these lovely dinners, and they go, I don't want that, I'm now a vegan or I'm a vegetarian. How do you, and you support them. You support the
Yes.
parents and you support the teenagers, don't you?
Yes, and it's something that I experienced myself when my daughter, she was 15, decided she wanted to be vegan. And even though I'm a nutritionist, it was still quite a challenge to make sure she was getting all the right foods. And then I started to come across lots of other people in the same situation, and particularly the parents are very anxious about their children not getting what they need. At that age, it's really difficult because they're growing, there's a huge demand for certain nutrients, and you have to be very careful with what you're eating, and you have to plan it and know what you're doing to stay healthy. So I really wanted to support that group because they don't have a lot of help otherwise, and naturally they are worried about their children, and quite rightly, because it can cause long-term problems if they don't pay attention to what they're eating.
So what would be a typical dish then that you would advise anybody who's a vegan or vegetarian to make for themselves?
Well, in fact, like traditional tofu is the most important thing you could eat. I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but really, that's got the best nutrients. It's full of protein. It's got all the right amino acids that you need to support muscle growth, to brain health, blood vessels, everything. So I always encourage all the vegan and vegetarian kids to have lots of tofu, which sounds like horrendously dull and awful, but in fact, it's very easy to prepare, like a really tasty meal, and it's dead easy and quick as well. I think people think that vegan and vegetarian diets are like hours and hours of soaking beans and preparing meals, but it can take you 10 minutes. If you know what you're doing.
And they can find all this on your website, Nutrition Know-How, can't they? nutritionknowhow.com.au.
That's right. So there's lots of information about what do's and don'ts, what to avoid, what nutrients they need to include in their diet, and recipes as well that can help them.
And as being a bit of an athlete yourself, even though you perhaps don't do the triathlons now or the marathons, would you have a lot of advice for people who run, swim, what's the other one with triathlon? Run, swim and...
Cycling.
Cycling, that's right.
Yes.
I knew there was one more.
I think really most people are aware if they're doing a lot of exercise, whether they're vegans, vegetarians or just on a normal diet, is they really need to get that protein in. And it's not that hard if you are a vegan or vegetarian to get the right amount of protein and you're an athlete. So I guess doing the research on that and probably making sure that you're always getting the right amount of iron and getting tested regularly, and just more of a balanced diet. So it's not really that different to someone who isn't an athlete, in fact.
Mm. Okay, that sounds good then. That sounds like a relief.
Yeah.
So, if you with your business, you've been set up for what, 5-6 years, haven't you?
Yes, since 2012.
And
yeah.
did you find that it was a slow process to get recognised?
Yes, that is the most difficult part, really. Everything else runs quite smoothly because I've been trained, I've studied in the field, I know what I'm doing. But when it comes to all that marketing and getting people to know that I'm there and that I can help them, I find that like hugely difficult. Definitely, yes.
So As a journalist on the trade magazines, you wouldn't use those skills again to push your business forward, or it's a bit like a mechanic, isn't it? Really, a lot of mechanics, they don't do their own cars. Oops, sorry, mechanics, if that's not true.
Yes. I guess, yes, it's something that I should really utilise, because I understand when I was a journalist, we used to receive all the press releases from the media, and it was always like the path of least resistance. So you would always choose the press release, the best written, where it's easy just to lift out little sound bites. And then we always had our go-to spokespeople, where we'd always just ring, oh, Linda's really good, she would always give us a good quote, and we'd just ring her up, and you end up using the same people. You have them in your phone book, and you always use them. So from that point of view, yeah, I could definitely be doing a lot more and aim to become that spokesperson, that go-to person that the media would use.
Because it's really important, wouldn't you say, that if you are in business, you do need to be an industry spokesman, you do need to be the expert in your field, you do want those journalists to go, oh hey, you know, Carmela always gives us good quotes, we always get great stories, we get great details. When we put things out there, she'll recognise and say, oh, this is what's new in the industry. So it's important, isn't it, that you build that rapport with a journalist, or any journalist really, that is within your field, and take it from there. Actually, that's not good.
Just keep going. Just leave it like that. Maybe just make a comment on what she said.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and particularly with what I do, being a nutritionist, I am the brand. So no one's going to want to use me unless they trust me. They know, they want to feel like they know me, and that they think I know what I'm doing, and that I get results as well. So the only way that I can really do that is to have that sort of like direct contact with people, really. And so if they can see my face becomes very familiar to them, and they know my name, they know what I do, then you know, that's most of the battle, really. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, and it's hard work, isn't it, when you're a business owner and you have to do everything yourself, really, particularly initially, to take on the PR aspect, marketing aspect of it. That's a huge undertaking for those who actually don't know what the steps are.
Yeah, it's overwhelming, and you kind of think to yourself, well, yeah, I probably should do that, but then you just don't really know how, or like, you know, what steps to take, or who you'd contact, or what you do. And particularly now, because everything's changed, everything's digital, it's not like in the old days. You know, I could have just sent out a few written press releases, but that's not quite how it's done now. So it's understanding what you need to do and what the journalists need from you, which is really difficult. Yeah.
But you're doing very well in your business. I've noticed you around quite a lot, actually, Carmela. So it's all good. Congratulations, high fives to you, and also you're making such a difference. And before I forget, and I have to say this, that you have branched out so much now that you're actually holding wellness retreats in Indonesia and across Australia, aren't you?
Yes, that's what I'm starting to do now, and it's 3 retreats a year, and it's designed to really help people pick up some wellness tips. So it's not just what they learn on the retreat, it's things they can take away with them that will just help their health overall and long term. So that's quite exciting.
Would these be a week long, and they're targeted to any particular age?
Yes, week-long retreats, mainly for, I guess maybe more like the 30-somethings, people who understand a little bit about health but want to take it that bit further, but also want people who want a bit of a break. I mean, it is a retreat, so it's relaxing. They're learning how to prepare foods, they get cooking lessons, They're learning a little bit about detoxing. They're going to get lovely food when they're there as well. So they come away feeling good in themselves, but also, just going with their own tips as to how to go forward.
And with some great recipes, and having had a lovely, relaxing week, book me in.
Yes.
Book immediately.
I will. Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Thanks, Carmela. That's lovely.
Okay, thank you.